The J. Michaels Show.
Welcome to this special edition of the J. Michaels Show. We have two guests for you tonight, and both are Native American flute musicians, meaning that they play the Native American flute, which is an ancient wood flute, and it sounds beautiful. It's wonderful, and especially in the hands of an artist like our first guest, which is coming up, Joanne Lazzaro. Lazzaro, I said it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Joanne Lazzaro, and let's say hello to her and welcome her to the show. Joanne, thank you so much for being my guest.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
It is so great having you, and you are not only just a Native American flute player, you play the silver flute as well, right?
Yeah, that's how I got my start. I started taking lessons in elementary school when I was 10, but the real way I got a start, which people don't believe, is I learned how to play flute in the attic of a haunted house by my babysitter. My mom was working at this in this old inn that had been converted into a restaurant, and the owner's wife worked there too, and they needed to babysit me for a couple of hours during a shift. So the owner's wife got out her old band flute, and she took me up to the attic and taught me how to play 3 notes on the silver flute, B, A, and G. And I didn't understand why the notes spelled bag or gab. And I was up there for a couple of hours going B, A, G, G, A, B, making notes. So when it came time to take lessons in school, I was way ahead of all the other kids because I knew how to play 3 notes.
But now you're classically trained, right?
Yes.
Okay, so where did you go to school for that?
So I got my undergrad degree in music education at Lebanon Valley College in Pennsylvania. And there I had to learn to play all the band and orchestral instruments, where I learned that literally the only instrument I was any good at besides flute was the string bass, and I was not tempted to switch. And then I got my master's degree out here in Los Angeles at the University of Southern California.
So what attracted you to this ancient Native American style flute?
Well, when I was a kid, I was interested in like any kind of flute. And when my relatives would travel, they would bring back little souvenir flutes, and they would say, "Look, I brought you a flute. Can you play it?" And some of these instruments were just like souvenirs, wall hangers. You couldn't make a sound out of them. They didn't have, real sound chambers. But other instruments actually, made a sound, and they were genuine folk instruments. But I had never seen a Native American flute until I was on a cross-country road trip across the U.S., and I was at a gift shop in Boulder, Colorado. And there, up on the wall, they had some flutes by Chris Tycoon, Larry Spieler. And I went in and I looked and I said, "Are those things up on the wall flutes?" And the cashier said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, can I try one?" And she brought it down. I said, "Can I play it?" And she said, "Sure." And I got it in like 5 holes. That was not too hard to figure out. And I played it and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing. I have to have this." So I took it with me for the rest of the trip, and I learned how to play Native American flute, literally sitting by the campfire while traveling across the country.
Yeah. I remember the first flute that I got was a bamboo flute. I threw it in the saddleback of my motorcycle, and I would play that thing sitting by the lake or whatever. But it was horribly out of tune. The first real good native flute that I owned came from High Spirits, and it was a G. But you also, you teach flute, don't you?
I do. I teach private lessons, both classical flute and world flutes, although a lot of my students tend to be wanting to play Native American flute. And I teach a class at Pasadena City College as well. And I think that's the first Native American flute class in all of Los Angeles County that's offered at a college.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a non-credit class, but I'm trying to work my way up to being able to offer a 4 credit class. So it's very
Well,
exciting.
one of the first things that people ask when they see you playing a Native American style flute is are you Native American? So, do you have any Native American in you?
Well, that's a really good question because people used to always ask that, and I always said, "Well, I don't think so."
Mm-hmm.
And then I did my a 23andMe report quite a few years ago, like the first generation, and my first report came back and said that I had 0.2% Native American ancestry, one person,
Mm-hmm.
one relative on my X chromosome more than 500 years back in the
Wow.
generations. And I thought, wow.
Yeah.
And then the next round of reports, they 23andMe took out all of the percentages that were lower than 1%, and they took that off my report.
Huh.
I got my mother to do her 23andMe report. Nothing came up about Native American heritage, and I was never able to get my dad's report because that would have covered the other X chromosome.
Mm-hmm.
So now I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was found the first time. I don't know why they won't report on it now. So I felt like I had like this little, like very tiny thread back to Native culture, Native American culture. And I feel like that thread was just like broken.
Oh,
So,
goodness.
so I don't know. I literally don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if it showed up in that first report, then there must be something to it, right?
Right, right. And they're
Yeah.
very specific about where they found it as well.
Okay, besides the Native American style flute, you play world flutes as well. What other kind of flutes do you also play?
So I play Irish flute,
Mm-hmm.
Irish whistle, Japanese shakuhachi, Chinese shao, Indian bansuri, panpipes, Baroque recorder, Chinese ditsa, Indonesian suling. I think I have a Chinese shun, and I have a few more. I have a few more flutes where I don't actually know where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly Eastern Europe.
Wow. Well, what's the difference between playing one of those and playing a Native American style flute?
Well, there's basically 3 different kinds of ways of world flutes and ways to play them. So you have all the end blown ones where you just stick it in your mouth. So Irish whistle falls under that. Baroque recorder falls under that. Suling, the Indonesian suling falls under that style, where you just like hold it, stick it in your mouth or against your face and blow.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are all the horizontal flutes where you have to make an embouchure and blow across the open hole. So the Indian bansuri, the Chinese ditsa, the Irish flute, all of those fall into the transverse, the horizontal flutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the rim-blown flutes that are held vertically, but you have no mouthpiece. You have an open end and a little notch, and you have to split the air across the notch. So Japanese shakuhachi, Chinese shao, and then the Pueblo Native American flutes, the ones that have no mouthpiece, just the open end and the little notch,
Mm-hmm.
all fall under that category of vertical rim blown.
But a Native American style flute, it has a bird on it. It splits the air within itself, right?
Yes, yes, it does.
so you don't have to form your mouth a certain way like you're blowing across a silver flute. You just blow directly into it, and
Right. You just put the air in, and the inside air chamber takes care of the direction and the splitting. So the Irish whistle and the Baroque recorder, instruments like that, do the same thing. The mouthpiece takes care of all the channeling of the air.
do you also play an ocarina?
I do. I do. I have quite a few ocarinas.
Uh-huh. Okay, so let's talk about your albums. How many albums do you have out currently?
Let's see. I think it is one, two, three, four. Let's see, four physical albums,
Mm-hmm.
and then a digital album, a few digital singles, and a digital EP that was a companion to my first album.
Your first album was Under the Stars, correct?
Yes.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that album and making it.
So I had been thinking for a while of making some sort of recording of myself playing Native American flute, and I was spending a lot of time up at the Mount Wilson Observatory
Mm-hmm.
here in Pasadena, La Cañada, up on the mountain. And I had discovered that inside the big observatory domes, you have this beautiful reverberant echo that lasts for a long time because it's a round, steel building basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the acoustics are just amazing. And I was thinking about making an album, and it seemed like it would be, a lot of work to get a recording crew up there. And I was at somebody's housewarming party, and I struck up a conversation with someone who heard me play the Native American flute there.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out he was an audio engineering professor. And I said, "Oh, do you have any recommendations for how to record, flute in like a round observatory dome? Because I understand it's like really hard to record under those conditions."
Mm-hmm.
And we got to talking, and he said, "This sounds like a great project. I'm going to bring my other, audio engineering professor and a couple of our graduate students, and we're going to bring a mobile recording studio up there, and we'll record you as a project for them."
Ah.
So, yeah, I got a free professional recording crew to do it, which was amazing because they must have had like a good easily 40 grand worth of microphones. They had a ribbon mic, a tube mic on me, and then they had up on the mezzanine, they had two matched mics so they could catch the reverb separately.
Mm-hmm.
They ran like hundreds and hundreds of feet of cable to get the mics up there.
Wow.
And did a whole bunch of sound checks and stuff. And I had to stand in one specific spot, a little bit off center,
Uh-huh.
from the center of the dome floor, so that they could get a good clean sound without any slapback off of some of the equipment. And the place had to be prepared for me. They turned off like every kind of equipment that wasn't lights. They swapped out all the red observatory lights for white lights so we could see, because otherwise it's like always really dark inside an
Mm-hmm.
observatory dome. And someone was really thoughtful to bring up a heater because it was really cold. Observatories are never heated. They're always the same temperature as the outside. So you're up on a mountain in November. It was really cold.
Yeah.
So in the video that was shot when I was making that, you can see this glowing heater down on the side. So I had set up all my flutes like in a semicircle, a few feet away from the heater, so they would stay a little bit warm. And between every take, you can see I'm wearing like fingerless mittens and Uggs and a big wool jacket and a hat and everything. And I had to go warm up my hands between takes because it was in the mid-30s inside the dome when I recorded that.
Now, Native American style flutes, they don't react well to extreme weather, right? I mean, it's hard to get them to play.
They do not like being very cold. They don't like cold, and they don't like damp. And so I had brought, like basically at the time, like every Native American flute I owned. And I had kind of decided like what order I would play them in. So I set them up in order, lined them up, and I had backup plans for if some of the flutes, didn't make it. And the reason I have a outtakes EP is some of the flutes wetted out, literally like in the middle of the song. So I'd like stop, shake it out, start again. And so on that EP, you have some of the takes where we had to edit the part in the middle where I stopped playing, cursed, shook out the flute, dried it, put it back together, finished the tune. So, the ones that were ruined that way were on there. And also actually some improvisations that were really nice, but they were so long they wouldn't fit on the first album. They wound up on the EP as well. But the outtakes all went on the EP.
Ah, okay. So what was your second album after that?
So the one I did after that would have been Canyon Shadows. And that's a really interesting story because that's a piece that was written for Carlos Nakai to play. It was written for the music festival at the Grand Canyon. And it was commissioned for that. The composer, Catherine Hoover, is a classically trained flutist, but she had spent a lot of time traveling in the Grand Canyon and was very inspired by that and wrote a number of pieces based on the Grand Canyon. So this piece was written for him. Another person played classical flute, and there was also a local percussionist who played it. And so this is a composed piece. They were reading from sheet music, except for the percussionist who did not read music, who just kind of learned everything by ear or by cues or just made stuff up.
Yeah.
And the premiere performance did not go well. And afterwards, Carlos told Catherine that he thought that some of the movements of the piece were too hard for Native American flute to play. And so she just shelved that piece and never published it. But flute players around the world, sort of through the internet, had heard that there was this one piece missing out of her Grand Canyon series that was unpublished. So I contacted her and asked about the piece, and she sent me like a photocopy of the score. And I got together with one of my other classical flute friends who also plays Native American flute and a world percussionist that we knew. We started putting it together and we started performing it in concerts, and it was going fine. And I contacted Catherine and said, can I get the rights to do the first commercial recording? Because that's how it works in the classical world. You have to ask to do the first commercial recording. You get permission from the composer. And she said, sure. And so we went and did it, and it was a process of consulting with her and sending her like some rehearsal recordings and stuff so we could narrow down the percussion parts and stuff. And she was just deliriously pleased that sort of the next generation of flute players could take a look at that sheet music and just go, because that's, we spend 10 years learning to do, and we just, we work it out. So I was really happy, that I was able to release that album and bring that piece, sort of back into the world. And then I edited the sheet music edition so that her publishing company could publish it. So the sheet music got published as well. So that was very exciting.
You've won several awards, haven't you, for flute? Tell me about your awards, each one.
I've gotten some global music awards for the albums, usually in the world music or instrumental categories. So I've gotten some global music awards. I've gotten quite a few awards from One World Music Radio for flute singles, especially. And flute albums. I got a Zone Music Reporter Award for my first album. I got a nomination for Hollywood Music and Media for a video that used Canyon Shadows. So yeah, I've gotten, each album gets some awards. So I'm very, pleased and grateful that people recognize the work and seem to really like it.
Wow. Wow. So, what is the current album you have right now that's out?
So Holly EV, Songs from the Rainforest.
Hmm.
I went back to my original concept of recording live single take improvisations in a natural environment. So for that one, I spent 4 days on the big island of Hawaii going up to different rainforest locations and basically having interactions with birds and coqui frogs and rivers and waterfalls, just to see what I would get and to see what would happen.
Hmm.
And because I was, having to hike up into the rainforest, I was really limited to small flutes that would not be damaged by flying, that could tolerate a lot of humidity, could tolerate being shoved into a backpack and being schlepped around. And I took a little tiny 10-year-old Sony digital recorder, and I took that with me, and I just propped that digital recorder like I put it on a log or a rock or a bench, pointing away from me into the forest, and then I would stand behind it and play.
Hmm.
And the whole idea was I wanted the sound of the rainforest to be dominant in the soundscape, and then the sound of the flute to come in kind of over top of that. And that turned out to be a really interesting idea.
Hmm.
And the thing that I was not realizing until I actually went and did it was thing one, it's breezy everywhere, no matter where you think you are. You think there's no breezes.
Right.
And I had not gotten any kind of a wind muff for that digital recorder because it had two stereo mics on it. So I didn't have a wind muff on it. And every time the breeze blew, like it ruined that take.
Mm.
So I had lots and lots of files with in the middle
Right.
that I couldn't use. And the other thing is the entire island is in the flight path of some airline. So I discovered that I got the best recordings late at night after all of the passenger planes had, after the passenger traffic was done for the evening.
Hmm.
So as I got towards the end of the 4 days, I'm like, all right, it's after 9 o'clock. No more planes are leaving Hilo. I can go out and record.
Wow. And you also have Ashes to Ireland. Tell me about that album.
So Ashes to Ireland and No More Words were two companion pieces. I licensed this really beautiful piano track from Tom Bailey. And as soon as I heard it, I heard improvisations to go with it.
Hmm.
So, and I was torn between doing something with Native American flute or something with Irish flute. And I decided to ultimately to do both. And I went up to Todd Boston's Dolby Atmos studio in Oregon, and I brought a collection of Native American flutes, and the one that I almost didn't put in my bag because it was like sticking out the top, and it had to be in carry-on, and so I like wrapped it in a handkerchief so that it wouldn't get damaged. It was like sticking out the top.
Hmm.
But I said, yeah, I'm going to bring it because it's in the right key. And then some of my nicer Irish flutes and Irish whistles. And so we did one whole section where I did Native American flute, and I just did like a series of improvisations and then on demand sort of like drop-ins and overdubs, and did the same thing with the Irish flute and the Irish whistles. And so both to the same track, but two completely different songs.
Hmm.
And then because we recorded it in his Dolby Atmos studio, I had talked to him about, putting it into surround sound and having some special effects. So we had taken the stems from the original backing track and we split them out on their own surround sound tracks. So some of the bird calls and stuff, once they're on their own surround sound track, like the birds actually fly around you. So it was really fun being able to put something intentionally into Dolby Atmos. So for my current album, all I had to work with was stereo, like the right left track. And Todd said, yeah, we can just still do some stuff with that. We can get that effect of the forest is surrounding you and the flute's kind of coming from everywhere or nowhere. So I've experimented, with doing Dolby Atmos both intentionally, which is what happened with Ashes to Ireland, or doing it sort of after the fact with whatever was salvaged from the tracks, which is another way to do it. Not highly recommended. It's better to go into the studio or go into the recording session with multiple mics and complete separation of the track so that when you do the surround sound, everything is clean and you can put it where you want.
Right. Joanne, we're about to watch a video of you playing. You sent this to me. And when I want to encourage the audience to stay with the show because we have another guest coming up after Joanne. But it is amazing. Also in this video, you play the silver flute as well as the Native American flute. So hang on, you're going to want to watch that. It's amazing that you have done so much with this flute, Joanne.
Well, thank you. It's been a real journey.
It has. It has. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. We're going to watch your video. We'll come right back. And thank you again. It's been wonderful talking to you.
It's been a pleasure. This was fun.
Okay, we'll be back after this. Welcome to the second half of the Native American Flute Musician Special. We have another special guest for you. His name is Randy Motz, and we're going to talk with him about his flute playing, his albums, and all kinds of information that he will bestow upon us. But while I've got you here, let me remind you once again to subscribe to the channel. We love it when you subscribe, when you like our content, when you comment. Leave a comment on this one, wherever you're getting it. If it's audio and video on YouTube, or if it's just audio on a podcast platform somewhere. Anyway, let's get to Randy. Randy, it's so good to have you here, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Jay. Thanks for inviting me on. It's been, as you and I were discussing before we started recording, it's been a while since we've chatted, back in our days when I was still in Texas. But this is really a treat to reconnect with you on this podcast.
Well, yeah, I mean, you used to come to the flute circles that we had here in Waco, and we enjoyed your music so much then, and still do now.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
So you have a whole lot of albums. How many albums? Let me check here on my information. You've got about 6 albums so far?
Six albums since 2006. About every 4 or 5 years to begin with, and then the last few have been every couple of years apart. You can see behind me here, my wife took some of the album covers and had them blown up and put onto metal frames and mounted them on the wall. So there's one open spot, so I have to come up with another album to fill in the open spot. But yeah, I'm really proud of the evolution of the albums over the years from 2006, where I was just starting out doing recording. And it took me about 2 years to finish the first one. And then after that, started using some other people's accompaniment tracks to play to, and then started making my own accompaniments, and sort of moved more over the last few years toward the ambient new age type meditative style. Really excited about the Wind, Water, and Stone album from 2022. That was a album that had a song for a bunch of national parks. And that particular album was named Flute Album of the Year by One World Music Radio. So that was really exciting. And so I've got some concepts for some songs for another album. Just haven't had the time to start working on them yet. Been busy doing collaborations with some other artists around the country. Been working with, just finished a collaboration with a gentleman by the name of Paul Hedden in Australia. This is our second collaboration. It'll be actually being posted tomorrow on YouTube, on his YouTube channel. And also worked with a gentleman by the name of George Pendred in the UK on a song probably about 6 months ago now, and also was honored to be asked to collaborate with Helen Willowind up in Massachusetts on a project she was working on. That one I didn't do flute. I actually provide synthesized background for flute music that she had already recorded. So that was a lot of fun. It was sort of a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I enjoyed doing it. So yeah, that was a great time.
How many different instruments do you play?
Aside from Native American style flute, I play a little bit of keyboard. I'm not really fast. I'm sort of like Lyle Richie. They asked Lyle Richie one time why he played just slow songs. Because he said, I can't play fast. So a little bit of keyboard. My core instrument is bass guitar. I spent a lot of years playing bass guitar, And within the last 6 months or so, I've picked up the cello. So I'm working on playing cello right now, and have an electric cello sitting in our bedroom that I'm still trying to get my wrists loose enough to be able to do it, my fingers calloused enough to be able to play well. It's been quite a challenge, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to putting the cello in some of my upcoming pieces.
Now, you have a moniker that you go by, Windtalker.
Right.
Tell me
Right.
how that came about.
Windtalker was the trail name that I used in 2006 when my wife and I thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine. We started on March 25th and finished on September 25th of 2006, and I took a Native American flute with me in my pack while we were hiking, and I would play. If we came upon a really nice vista at the top of a mountain, I'd sit down and play, or I'd play for the other hikers in camp at night. And because of my love for the Native American cultures, and because I played the flute, I decided that Windtalker would be a pretty cool trail name to use rather than using my own name on the trail. Most thru hikers on the Appalachian Trail use trail names, not their own names. So we sort of fit into that whole genre there.
Yeah. Well,
and then when I started recording,
you had the opportunity to play. You got permission from Sioux elders to perform at Wounded Knee. Tell me about that.
We were just out in South Dakota. It's been probably only 2 or 3 weeks ago now, maybe a month at the most. And one of the places that we never got to go to during our travels, mainly because the last time we were out in South Dakota was during COVID, and they shut down the reservations. I always wanted to go to see the Wounded Knee Monument memorial site. And so this year we were able to get there, and we parked at the bottom of the hill where the memorial site is, and there happened to be a Sioux elder sitting there who also happened to be a tribal policewoman. And I asked if I could have permission to go up to the memorial and play an honor song at the memorial, and she said absolutely. So I took my flute and trudged up the hill to the memorial and stood in front of the obelisk that had names of those who had passed during the massacre at Wounded Knee, and played an honor song. And there was a few other people walking around. There was a trio of gentlemen from Germany who were there taking everything in. And when I was done, one of them came up and shook my hand and said that was a moving experience for him to not only be at the memorial, but to have Native American flute music to go along with it. Unfortunately, there was no video done of it.
I was going to ask you if
everybody
you
will have to take everyone will have to take my word for it. But yeah, it was one of the greatest moments for me as far as playing Native American style flute.
Wow, yeah, that had to be memorable. Is anything else like that ever happened to you?
Well, we were at Pueblo Bonito at the Chaco Canyon Cultural Park some years ago, and we wanted to go on a moonlight tour of the ruins there that the National Park Service was putting on. So while we were waiting, I pulled out a flute and started playing, and the ranger who was going to lead the tour came up to me and said, "Would you like to play for our moonlight tour?" And I said, "I would be honored to do that." So we sat in on his talk, and as the sun went down, full moon came up. Everything was bathed in moonlight and shadows. And he said, "Okay." He told everybody who was there, "We're going to take a little break. Everybody stay here." And he and I found our way through the ruins to the Pueblo Bonito, and he said, "Okay, I want you to stay here, and I want you to play, and I'm going to go back and get everyone else, and they can follow me to the sound of your playing." And what was funny was that I didn't realize how many people were at this were at this talk, and I had to play for 30 minutes before everybody found their way into this ruin where he finished giving his talk. And normally, as you know, being a flute player as well, you can't play these flutes for 30 minutes without them wetting out and stopping playing. But because it was so dry where we were, I didn't have any trouble. And the interesting thing to me was that for 30 minutes, I was able to come up with unique things to play.
Yeah.
Which when you're improvising, playing something unique for 30 minutes rather than repeating the same thing over and over is usually a lot of work, but it just came so effortlessly at that time. And I felt like the spirits of the ancient Anasazi people were there guiding me, guiding my fingers and my music so that everyone that was there could benefit from the music and really enjoy the moonlight tour as much as possible.
Yeah, the fact that your flute did not wet out, which they do, especially in a humid environment, that you could keep going for 30 minutes straight, just improvising, just making it up as you go along, and that everyone found you. I mean, the spirits were obviously guiding you through all of that. Do you believe that?
I do believe that. And as a follow-up, we were in Aztec, New Mexico, the following day at the ruins there, and we were in the gift shop, just sort of, kicking around, seeing what was available in the gift shop. And this family were also in the gift shop, and the mother came up to me and she said, "You're the gentleman who played the flute last night at Pueblo Bonito, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "That absolutely made our entire vacation, was being able to experience that with the flute." So that even added to the experience, making it so special to have somebody acknowledge how much it impacted them.
Well, when you play this flute, I mean, it's not just for you. A lot of flute players simply play for themselves. But as you play the flute, you're almost guaranteed to draw a crowd. And have you ever played to animals? Have you ever had animals come up to you?
I haven't actually had animals, a lot of birds. We were up in Vermont. We were on a hike, and I had my flute with me. And it was in the afternoon. We'd had dinner, and we were next to this little pond with a dock that went out into the water. And I decided, well, let me go out and play a song. It's a nice setting. It's a nice evening. So I went out on the dock and started playing. And my wife came up to me and she said, "Have you looked around to see how many hawks just showed up while you were playing?"
Wow.
And they just came in, 6 of them from everywhere, and just sat in the trees while I was playing. And when I was done, they all left. It was so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I find that amazing too. I've had deer, I've had raccoons, I've had squirrels, I've had all kinds of animals come up to me if I'm in a wooded area or whatever, and they will stop what they're doing and listen to that. There's something about the sound of that flute that they will just stop what they're doing and listen to it. And that's amazing. You have done, 65 multimedia concerts? Tell me about your concerts.
I started doing concerts back in 2011. My parents were in an assisted living facility. My mom was suffering from Alzheimer's, and took my flutes down there and worked it out with the activity director to do a 1-hour concert. And she thought that was a great idea. And so when we got there, my wife, Georgia, said, why don't they have this big flat screen TV on the wall? Why don't we do something special? I'll hook up my laptop to their TV and show photos from our Appalachian Trail through hike while you're playing. And that was the start of what we used to call the Windtalker Experience multimedia concerts. And I started doing these on a regular basis in Maryland at assisted living facilities and senior centers near where we lived. And I was averaging about 65 shows a year at various facilities. A lot of them I went back to every couple of months. And I had a 7-foot projection screen with me and a projector. And my wife would put together sets of her photographs from our travels. And I would show those photos behind me while I was playing and tell people about those locations and talk to them about the flutes and how the songs came to be. And that was sort of the start of the whole thing. And over the course of from 2011 till I sort of took a hiatus at the end of 2018 when we were getting ready to go full-time in a motorhome, I had probably done about 400 of those shows.
You've done about 425 live performances, right? Tell me about your live performances and where do you usually have those?
Well, the live performances were at wineries, coffee houses, assisted living facilities, some state parks I was asked to play at. And I've played at some banquets. I played at a Youth for Christ convention in Ocean City when they were having an altar call to have kids come up. I played during that. And so there's been a lot of variation, but most of the concerts that I did were at assisted living facilities and senior centers. And that's where I put my main focus. The wineries were nice. Coffee houses were typically noisy.
Right.
You were playing over the noise of the coffee grinders and stuff like that. Wineries are sort of hit and miss. Depends how many people showed up and how much they had to drink. One of the stories that I like to tell is one of the things that I do during my concerts, about halfway through, I hand out an array of percussion instruments to the audience. And then I play a drum beat backing track and have them play along with the drum beat. And then I just improvise a song while they're playing their percussion instruments. And I did that one time at a winery. It was a 3-hour show, and I made the mistake of doing it about a halfway through, maybe 2 hours into the concert. And by then, everybody was 3 sheets to the wind. They'd had a couple of bottles of wine already. They couldn't find the bathroom, no less try to keep a beat. So I made a pledge to myself: no more handing out percussion instruments at wineries. But yeah, it was. Wineries were a unique experience.
Well, I was going to ask you, and you kind of led into that, but if someone goes to one of your concerts, what can they expect? What will happen?
Well, you'll experience a bunch of different things. First of all, it's a multimedia type event, so there'll be visuals running the entire time. I will be playing Native American flute music. Some of it is music that I compose, more of a traditional style music. But I also do a lot of classic rock songs. Mainly because when you're playing at wineries and coffee houses and things like that, people want to hear songs that they know.
Yeah.
And I got that request probably before I was a year into performing, is people coming up and saying, "We love your music, but could you play some songs that we know?"
Right.
So I started adding classic rock songs to my repertoire, and I sort of sprinkle those through the entire program to keep everybody interested. And I also, talk in between songs about Native American culture and history, and sort of make it a a complete experience for people, not just sit there and listen type thing.
Right. Is it primarily an older audience, or is it a young audience, or is it mixed?
Primarily, it's an older audience. And I think that's mainly because of the places that I play. You know, there's no young people at assisted living facilities. You do get some young people at wineries and coffee houses, but frankly, they're so busy looking at their screens that they're not really listening to what you're playing.
Right.
So when I look at my numbers from Apple Music and Spotify and that type of stuff, every month they send me a report. I look at the demographics, and by and large, the demographics for the people who listen to my music are between 45 and 65.
Right.
And the majority of them are women.
Okay. All right. Well, I was also going to ask you, do you do these Native American flute festivals? There are several of them around the country. Do you do those, and are you invited to them? And how many of them do you do a year?
I really didn't do much with the flute festivals until a few years ago, I guess back in 23. I went to the Southwest Voyager Festival in Tucson. And just sort of played at open mic that they had there every day, just to sort of introduce myself to people. And after that was over, I got asked to come back as a performer the following year. So in 24, I came back as an evening performer. I also played at the Native Dawn Festival in Harrodsburg, Kentucky, that Fred Keems puts on. That was in 23. And I did Flute Stock. Last year I was at Flute Stock out in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, and performed on Friday night. And this past year they invited me back, and I got to play on Saturday night. And I've asked to be invited. You sort of have to ask to be invited to some of these festivals. And didn't hear back from a lot of them. There's some that, not that I'm not interested, it's just where they are and the time of year they fall. I don't really want to travel there that time of year. So the festivals are fun. They're a lot of work, a lot of travel, typically. There's very rarely a flute festival in your backyard, as you know.
Right.
And it's usually at your own expense. Some of the festivals do pay the artists, but a lot of them you're relying on merchandise sales, selling your CDs, that type of thing, to sort of defray your cost.
Right.
You're basically going to let people hear your music, let them get to know you, and hopefully somewhere down the road they'll start following you on YouTube or Spotify or Pandora or Apple Music and start buying you music.
Right. Well, we're going to hear you play and see you play here in just a couple of minutes, because we have a video of you playing that we'll include in this show. But if someone wants to hear your music or wants to check out Windtalker, where would they find you online?
Okay, so I have a website. It's www.windtalkermusic, that's all one word, windtalkermusic.com. And you can go there. That's where you can order CDs. It'll also take you to locations where you can download the music. You can also go to any of the major streaming platforms to listen to the music, any place that allows you to, purchase, like Amazon or Apple Music, you can do that as well. So there's a lot of different places that you can go to hear the music or purchase the music. You can buy CDs directly from me through the website. And we also have a YouTube channel. It's a Windtalker Music YouTube channel. And on that YouTube channel, we have about 260 videos, music videos, and they run the gamut from live performance videos, There's also videos that my wife takes of me doing improvisational songs when we're at some iconic location where we're doing a hike. There's also some videos from different places around the world that we've been to, like New Zealand and Iceland. And there's also a song, except for a handful from my first album and a handful from my last album, there is a video for every single song on all of my albums. So if you like a song, you can go to the YouTube channel. Please, if you do, subscribe, like, comment. You can go and you can see a video that goes along with the particular song that you want to listen to. We continue to put out these videos as often as we can. Usually every Christmas we'll put out a Christmas video, which is usually flute and me singing. So that's where people can hear my music.
Wow. Well, Randy, it has been wonderful to reconnect with you, talk with you, and have you on this show. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Well, thank you so much, Jay. It was great to hear from you, and it's a real pleasure, and I consider it a privilege to be on your show. This is a great show. I watch it as often as I can, and you're doing a great job, doing a great service, very entertaining.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And we'll see you next time after this video. Be sure to hang on and watch it. And we'll see you next time on the J. Michael Show.
Join us on this journey of sight and sound to Big Bend National Park. This is Dreamcatcher, played on a G minor flute made by Butch Hall.
Goodbye.